Hello and welcome back to A Transformed Life. I'm glad you're here today. I've got a really important topic to talk to you about today, and it's called Reparenting Your Inner Child. How to heal those wounds that were inflicted upon you as a child as a result of the trauma and the experiences you had. And if you've heard my story, you know that my trauma was pretty significant because my mom was a drug addict and a Hell's Angel when I was very small. I was very fortunate. My dad got custody of me and my stepmom when I was 6, but prior to that, there was a lot and even some bullying in school and many trials and tragedies, even into my teen and adult years. But we don't have to live as the walking wounded. It seems like there's this message out there today that, oh, you've had a lot of trauma. It's going to go rough for you. And then we begin to feel like victims. And I want to free you from that today. You can heal from your trauma. And one of the most powerful ways to go about that is to do inner child work and reparent that inner child. Now, of course, if we could, we would go back and just recreate our whole childhood, wouldn't we? We would give that child self, parents that didn't get a divorce perhaps, or parents that didn't struggle with alcohol, or, we'd lift that child out of poverty. We would make sure that he or she was not bullied. We can't do that. Okay. But what we can do is heal that scared, shamed, guilty, angry little child. Okay. Now, I don't say bring out those emotions, in an accusatory way, because however you feel and however you felt is okay. Um, the struggles we have as children are very real. And you are, as a child, completely dependent on those caregivers. And if they don't parent you properly, it leads to a lot of inner turmoil and wounds. And if you don't heal that inner child, it has a lot of repercussions in your current life. And you probably may have noticed that already. I mean, I fell into a lot of traps because I had this scared child who didn't trust people, didn't trust myself, didn't trust the world. And so that led to me exhibiting certain behaviors, having certain thinking patterns that were not productive, that were sabotaging my life, that were making my relationships difficult. So, unhealed wounds affect your future. And we can't go back and change the past, but it is our responsibility to heal. And there's a meme I've seen on Facebook recently, and it says that we are, I'm not quoting exactly, but it says that we often bleed on the people who didn't cut us. And when I saw that for the first time, I thought, whoa, how true that is. I mean, I have to honestly look back at my past and say, I have bled on people that didn't cut me because of my own pain that wasn't healed. You should never be ashamed of that pain. And you should be merciful and gracious to yourself when you have done that, because you're doing the best you can with what you learned from the past. But I don't say that as a way for you to move forward excusing any negative or hurtful behaviors. We hurt others when we're hurting, and others that are hurting hurt us. And at some point, we just have to say, you know what? The buck stops here. The trauma stops here. I'm breaking the cycle. I'm not going to let this continue in the generations to come. Okay. And then it's time for us to really devote time to our own healing. Now, here's the problem: we live busy lives and we think, my God, how do I have time for, 6 years of therapy or 2 hours a day of meditation? But I really don't believe healing is that difficult. As I've said, it's not easy, but it's simple. So I'm going to talk to you today about this incredibly powerful method for bringing deep and profound levels of healing into your life today. So, when we do not heal that inner child, what happens? It results in a lot of addictions and compulsions. Dr. Gabor Mate, that many of you are familiar with, if you haven't read his books, they're wonderful. He really demonstrates how trauma particularly leads to addiction. Um, he did some work, I think it was in Toronto, and discovered that the drug addicts and the addicts he was working with all of them, hands down, without exception, came from traumatic backgrounds. And the deeper the addiction, the more debilitating the addiction, the deeper the trauma. Okay. So the research is clear that trauma can lead to addictions and compulsions. Now, it could also lead to repression. When we repress our trauma because we just want to live our lives, we want to forget about it, but we repress it and we try not to let it bubble to the surface, all this emotional pain. What happens is we all have an emotional reservoir and it just builds because the older we get, right, there's more. There's more suffering and trauma and struggle. Life is never perfect. Even if you have a good life now, you may still be just through the stress of life building up that emotional trauma and then okay. At some point in your life that emotional reservoir gets so high that you can actually develop anxiety, depression, panic disorders, nervous system dysregulation, which can lead to chronic pain, can lead to chronic illness. Okay. So healing your inner child is also about helping all of this, all these repressed emotions that might be down here. Now, this is interesting because when I first heard about this emotional repression, this emotional reservoir, I thought, well, that's not me. That's not me. I repress nothing. I'm so emotional. I share with people. I cry easy. I'm sensitive. I'm not a repressor. Well, I was really surprised to find out I actually was. And I think to some extent, maybe I still am. And that's one of the reasons that I began journaling. I first heard about this type of journaling I do from Nicole Sachs because Sachs, did I say it right? I don't know. But anyway, I first heard about it from her because I was dealing with some chronic pain. Highly recommend her channel about chronic pain. If you're struggling with that, it's excellent. And she talks about journal speak. Now, what I do is a little different from journal speak, but her method is great. My method works a little differently, but that's okay. Um, and through journaling, I realized, oh wow, there's an entire volcano under the surface of my life. So don't just assume you don't have repressed emotions if you feel like you're a very emotional person and you express yourself freely. We're often blind to these things in our life. So, not healing your inner child can also really affect your relationships. I think this is the number one cause of failed relationships is you being triggered by unhealed stuff in the past, your partner being triggered by unhealed stuff in the past. So you have this just explosive reaction to very minor things often, and you can't seem to control it because these wounds have not been healed. And then finally, just sabotage. Sorry, I've got an itch. So just you begin to sabotage your life because you believe things about yourself that were programmed in back there and you don't believe you deserve good things. You don't believe you can handle the next move up in your career or that you're lovable. So when someone tells you you are lovable and you're moving towards that committed relationship, you sabotage it. You get that promotion, you don't think you can handle the new responsibility, you sabotage it. Okay, this happens all the time. So, this is why I think this practice of reparenting your inner child is so absolutely crucial. And I'm going to share that with you today. And if you will take the time to practice it, it will be absolutely life changing for you. You will have a level of healing in your life that you have not experienced before. And reparenting that inner child is an integral part of the therapy I do with hypnosis and NLP with people. It's absolutely crucial to heal the issues going on in their lives today. But I want to teach you also how you could work with yourself, okay? Because even when I work with someone in hypnosis and with NLP, I don't want to just solve the problem for them. I actually want to teach them how to continue to solve it, okay? If something else comes up later or a wound maybe they forgot, because you're not going to solve all your problems in a single week. Okay, we begin healing processes. We could do major healing in a short time with hypnosis because we're working with the subconscious, but your whole life is not going to become perfect in a single hypnosis session. Although you can really make some strides. You can overcome anxiety. You can overcome depression in as little as 30 days, but that doesn't mean you're not going to have any problem at all. Okay. So I want you not just to get healing for an issue that's driving you nuts now. I want you to know how to heal yourself. Have you ever heard the old saying, you can give a guy a fish or you can teach him how to fish? Okay. Giving him a fish feeds him for a day, teaching him how to fish feeds him for a lifetime. I want you to have mindset skills, tools, strategies, so that whatever arises in your life, you got it. Okay, that's why I designed my A Transform Life program, which I'm going to be launching again soon as a group membership program. And I will be telling you about that so you can join that group. And I'm excited about it because we'll be walking this journey together. Okay, so we can't change the past, as you know, but we can change from this day forward. The first step is to take that responsibility. That means you're going to have to invest time. You're probably going to cry some tears, some emotions that are uncomfortable are going to come to the surface, but I promise you it's worth it. If you don't heal, you're going to have repercussions in your life. It's not a threat, it's a reality. You are worth it. You deserve the time, and your loved ones, your family members, your future career, all of this deserves the time it takes for you to heal. And I got good news for you. It doesn't take years of therapy. Okay. So let's talk about how to heal. The first thing we want to do is discover the pain. And that's what I was talking about earlier with journaling to freedom. Okay. Journaling to freedom, and I have a video on this channel about that. I also have a document that helps you get started on that, and I'm working on actually creating a journal for you to be able to access so that you can take that a step further and really carry it forward. I just haven't got it done yet. Working as quick as I can, guys. So in any event, I want you have to discover where the pain is, okay? Because often we're living our lives, okay? We don't need to go back, let me make this clear, and delve into every little tiny nuance of your trauma. Okay, that's not what this is about. What we're looking for is beliefs. Okay, and we're looking to let out these repressed emotions. So, taking time every day, and I always get up with my cup of coffee in the morning because my brain just, I don't know, doesn't work well until I've had that coffee. So I sit down with that cup of coffee and I'm all groggy and I take out my journal. I'm not going to write. Sorry, not going to do that. I do it in a Word document. I use speech to text and I just talk. Okay. I talk about childhood. I talk about present stresses. I talk about my personality and maybe if I'm struggling with a little perfectionism or something. I'm human. Even though I do this for a living, I still struggle. But when we're talking about that reparenting process, you're going to be focused on that inner child. This is a time for you to allow the inner child to speak. Now, you can do that any way you're comfortable with, but what I like to do is to think back of when I was 3, perhaps, and let that little 3-year-old talk about what was she afraid of? What was she angry about? Um, what did she want really bad but couldn't have? All of these things. And I just her speak. Now, it might seem kind of awkward at first, but if you just start, if you just go with it, you'll be surprised how quickly. So I journal, I get all of it out. Now, as I'm journaling, as I'm writing, I only need to spend, even if you got 10 minutes, 10 minutes is better than nothing. Let it flow. Now you're getting an idea. Okay, just like if you have children, you look at your own children and you look for what their needs are. You hear them struggling in a certain area, and I need to encourage them or address this issue in your life. And you are now looking at your own inner child and asking what needs to heal for this child. So you are now becoming, in the life of your inner child, you are becoming the loving parent. Maybe your parents have passed away, can't heal that relationship. Maybe you had a horrible childhood. Maybe mom and dad did the best they could, but they weren't perfect and there were some wounds. Okay. You can't go back and change that. But I will tell you this, nobody knows that inner child like you, and nobody can heal that inner child like you. Nobody's going to do it for you. Okay. Even when I work with clients, it's not about me healing their inner child. It's about them doing it. I'm facilitating, they're doing the healing. Okay. And so it's your responsibility, and I'm going to help you to do that. And it's not as hard as you think. So as you journal, you begin to find and locate the needs of that inner child. Okay. I use hypnosis to bring about a rapid healing, but you don't have to. Okay. If you're not ready for that, then this is a great process for you to use. Now, one of the things I want you to do is as you are making these discoveries, I want you to find, if you have, a picture of yourself as that child. And I want you to put it somewhere in your house. Maybe you put it in your journal. Maybe you post it on a mirror. But if you don't have a picture, you can ask AI to create one. You can have it drawn up and make that your representation of what you look like as a child. And I want you to look at that child and I want you to speak to that child. And based on what that child had to say to you, I want you to meet that child's needs. You know how to do it. You know that child better than anyone else. You're the only one that has the power to heal that child. And if you need help, it's okay. That's what people like myself are there for, to help you work through that process. Okay. So, healing your inner child leads to nervous system healing. Nervous system is dysregulated when that emotional reservoir of pain is full. You are mitigating that. You are now taking the time every day to tell that inner child the things that he or she needs to hear, those encouraging words, the words of praise. Things like, you're lovable, you're smart, you're beautiful. And if you even close your eyes right now and you picture that little child, you'll see that so many of the things that you may be saying to yourself that are negative, you would never say to an innocent little child. That those words you've been saying to yourself are actually the words of your abuser, the words of your bully, the words of the critical teacher or parents that you didn't deserve, that that child didn't deserve. And now it's time to heal. Okay. And when you heal that inner child, not only do you help regulate your nervous system, but you're building your own confidence. Because remember, the negative thoughts and feelings we have about ourselves, they come from back there. They come from the past. They come from that programming. And what can be programmed in can be programmed out. When you heal your inner child, you get peace. Because that inner child often still believes that the world is a dangerous place. And now you are sending a message of peace and love and safety. And when you heal your inner child, you will make better decisions because you're no longer reacting to the past. Now, I do want to say something really quick before I end this video. For those struggling with addiction, this is really crucial. Sometimes when people are getting sober, they're no longer using that addiction as a band-aid. Okay, because remember, as Gabor Mate has shown in his research, addicts are traumatized people. Okay, and so you remove the addiction and the trauma bubbles to the surface. So that should not stop you. Okay, because there are ways to heal, and that's what this channel is all about. But just know that there's healing work to be done. It's not just about stopping the binge eating, the alcohol, the marijuana. It's also about doing the healing work that alcohol, that substance, that behavior was attempting to deal with. Okay. Now, this is where I get to the exciting part because I'm so excited about this. So I'm creating for you some reparenting audios I'm going to be putting here on YouTube. Um, I thought about how I wanted to do this, and I decided the best bet was for me to break it up by age. So there's going to be a audio for you to reparent your infant self if you had a lot of trauma in that period of life, for you to reparent your toddler self, your young child self, your elementary self, your teenage self, and then your young adult self. Okay. For some of us that are older, like 55, there was still trauma going on in my early 20s, perhaps. So if that's the case, you have a way to really focus in a meditative way, and this is just guiding you towards that healing process. I'm really excited about being able to offer these videos to you and my clients. And there's going to be no charge. I'm just going to put them here on YouTube for you. And so when you're doing that journaling to freedom work, and you see that there are those periods of pain, those periods, this audio group of audio video, well, they're audios, they're going to be audios, but this group of audio meditation is really going to help facilitate that healing for you. You don't have to use them, but they're going to be a guide to show you what that healing process is going to look like. And then you can take it from there. You don't have to listen to the video, because it's about you learning how to heal and then moving forward and doing that work yourself. And I promise you, if you'll devote the time, and I recommend that this is something you do every day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20, depending on how much time you have. And I will tell you, you're going to notice things. You're going to notice anxiety diminishing. You're going to notice depression lifting. And here's the real exciting part to me, as someone who lived a great deal of my life in a state of hypervigilance. And I think I'm still there, as I mentioned. I still have some nervous system healing to do. But your nervous system is going to begin to relax and heal, because your subconscious mind is going to learn you're safe, because that emotional reservoir is being cleared. And so thank you for being here today. Please subscribe to my channel so you're notified of these new videos. Please share this video with someone who might be really discouraged right now, thinking, I've got so much trauma from my childhood, I just don't have any way to deal with it, or maybe they can't afford to read any books or do anything right now, and this is going to be very helpful for them. So and I'll see you again soon.